Hello, everybody, and welcome to the semifinals at the Canadian Overpower Season 0 Regional. I may have said the second regional a few times if you watched the earlier matches, but this is in fact our third regional. We had the Seattle Regional and the Columbus Regional, and this is the Canada Regional coming to you from 401 Games. Co-commentating with me this event is Tyler Bertrand. How's it going, Tyler?
Everything's good with me. Looking forward to seeing the next two matches.
And let's jump right into this. Now, we've seen Keffer on camera at least twice already, so we're pretty familiar with his deck. Zach is playing one of the bigger decks in the meta, certainly one of the more popular ones, a Sun Wukong with Wicked Witch stack. He's going to be looking to stack a bunch of hits on Sun Wukong in a big battle and strip them all off with Grasp of the Five Elements. Zach's playing the Mummy, which I know, Ty, you and your playgroup are big fans of the Mummy. Kind of surprised we haven't seen more of him in the meta.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the Mummy's by far one of the best characters in the set, and so this deck that Zach's playing is kind of made originally by Andrew Taylor, I believe, in the Seattle crew, but he ran Mina Harker, so the change that Zach made was putting the Mummy in, I guess, instead of Mina, and I'm curious to see if it's gonna play any better.
I think the Mummy with Asclepion is such an obvious stack, and
Yeah.
we're just not seeing a lot of it. But Zach's going to get his Harness the Wind down early. That's, one piece of the puzzle if he's looking for a really huge bet on a specific hand. It's also a great hedge against Keffer, who we've seen in both games betting either 3 or 4 first hand or doing a huge stack of placement and running. But we know if Keffer can capitalize on a lack of defense first hand, he will. So Zach duping on that 5 is a little unfortunate, but Harness the Wind is a really good hedge against one of those big bet hands. And Keffer's also drawn his Hades first. Not always the best card to get first hand.
Yeah, it's interesting because the early Harness the Wind guarantees Zach can get the Mummy's Avoid Draw out, which is avoid a power card to draw, which is crucial, and that makes you break even on that card. The thing he's got to be careful of, though, is Keffer has a lot of hits in the deck that you can't take because they have those secondary effects, like the discard 2 cards from the Count of Monte Cristo 6 or the reveal hand from Sherlock.
So both of them don't do kind of the traditional full play set. They both got 5 cards down. I'm assuming if Zach's got a duplicate that he's going first. Let's actually count cards. 5. Actually, no, Zach still has 3 cards in his hand. So it looks like he's utilized the going second ability, and that 5 that he got as a dupe actually isn't going to hurt him.
I think it was actually Top Seed's choice in this case, so I think Phil actually opted to go first.
Yep. They both got full 8 cards. Zach does have his, he's also got his discard a placed card from Wicked Witch, which is going to be very good in this situation. It's going to pull an 8. Looks like Keffer goes 2. It looks like Zach goes 1. And we'll see if they're going to do any fighting in this particular case.
Now, if I were Zach, I would probably aim to get rid of the 8 any power with the Wicked Witch card, just because you're hoping that he doesn't have another power card in hand to follow up the teamwork, especially if he's going to lead with the ally.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it might not even be his choice. Now, we do see that Keffer has drawn his Freya. So, sorry about that. Whatever Zach decides to do, throw an ally and then follow it up. If he does the discard a place card, we're probably going to see that pull the Freya and then see a 1-2 hit from that teamwork. But it'll be interesting to see. The good thing about Zach is he's got the ability to play around a bit. He doesn't have to be completely worried because he does have the Harness the Wind, although he doesn't want to use it just to keep.
Yeah, he doesn't want to take a bunch of damage, let Keffer Hades out, and then start putting pressure on him later.
All right, so Keffer's going to play Select the Slain.
Yep.
I believe he still has a Freya. I can't see their hands as well as I normally do from up here, but I thought I saw more of the whites and the
I think he
blues of
did
the
have
color
Freya as
scheme.
well, so I think he still
Uh,
still had it. If I were him, I'd probably be looking to grab a power card personally, unless there's something else that's.
well, he's certainly got low power cards, but nope, he just goes directly for the Count of Monte Cristo draw 3. And honestly, if I'm Zach, I don't think I mind this. Get the draw 3, take a turn to play it. I'm gonna ally into the discard a placed card. And then I'm gonna let him do his draw
Yeah,
3, get
I
3
agree.
cards, and then just run.
I think that's exactly what you do. Is you try to build up your placing advantage, lead the battle, give him his missions, and then let him draw his cards, and then just run. I mean, he could be experiencing some KO pressure here as well, but the draw 3 will probably bail out.
Yeah, I'm not exactly, and I'm not sure what else is in his hand. But if this hits, Zach could just throw the "I'll make you famous" and get a multi-hitted pressure. But now he does exactly what we think. Now it looks like he's targeting the 8 combat. And I think he's just not thinking of
Yeah,
the
I think
teamwork
that's. I mean,
follow-up in
either
the
way,
same
he's
way
probably
you
going to
are.
Freya it, but I think that still would have been better.
He draws the Freya. The draw 3 is going to go through. And I think this is where, if I'm Zach, I'm just going to cut my losses and get out of Dodge. But I don't know what's in his hand, and that is the choice Zach will make. So, yeah, he gets out of the way of a Jacopo, a 5, and a not a bad detective. Seeing that Jacopo go by, you're never upset about that. Now, he did have, interestingly enough, he did have the Mummy's discard, like avoid a power card. In retrospect, knowing that he's going for Sun Wukong, I may have stayed
Yeah,
in an
and
extra
I
attack
do
or
think
two
him
there at
targeting
that
the
point.
combat's the
You
right
know, you
decision in that case.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point, Ty. So we didn't see that card. So in that situation, yeah, leaving the 8 power card to be something that can be
I mean,
avoided
that
and
brings
then
him
get
within
him
one
a
card of the
draw.
draw 3, and with the Hades and the Harness the Wind being kind of canceling each other out, as far as non-venture cards go, I think that, yeah, I think I agree with you. I think I would have played that through.
Especially if the 4 multi was the other card in his hand. He would have revealed everything in his hand, but he could have defended, then avoided, and then had a draw. Fortunately, he's going to dupe out on a 6 and a 7, both cards that are in his hand. That's just an unfortunate little bit of variance where Kefir looks to not have any duplicates.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Now yeah, being 2 cards down when you're facing 2 8 cards is
as much as the Wukong Wicked Witch deck has a lot of oomph to it doesn't quite have the same number of high volume, high number attacks that like a Leonidas build is going to have. Wukong's got a bit more tricky cards.
Kefir, I've got a little bit of a view of his hand. He's certainly got some heat. He's got his negate for Sherlock Holmes. It looks like he's got his fairy protection in hand as well. So he's going to look to be able to do a full lockout. So hopefully that's going to keep Zach from overcommitting to this particular hand. Network of Thieves is great. The 6 is actually, I think the 6 on Wukong, he's got so much. People forget that it's
huge.
an opponent discarded universe. He can sneak that 6 through
that 6 is a monster
and get
card.
a
And
card with it.
I mean, you're also seeing in Zach's case, another reason I think to stay in would have been to try to absorb some damage on the Mummy if possible, even if it was through the Hardest to Win, because then it does make his cards like the 5 very live. It looks like Kefir places another 5 multi, so I mean, it's as far as what's placed, it's still fairly even, but it's gonna. I think it's just gonna be whether Zach can overcome the card disadvantage here.
Yeah, he's got a card disadvantage. He's definitely got a speed disadvantage. So, I think what Zach's probably perfect scenario here is gonna be is if Kefir overcommits to a bet. If Kefir goes 3. or 4. But I think Kefir's too smart to do that. He knows he's facing Harness the Wind. That's a defensively played card. He doesn't want to have to use his only negate offensively, so he's gonna just go 2. Oh no, he did go 3. Oh, he went 3. Zach drew the card. All right, so this is gonna be interesting. Kefir's got confidence, but I think that's Harness the Wind. This is the time, and you got to try to have to try to make Kefir run with KO pressure.
Yeah, I
you're
agree.
not
This is
as
going to be
worried
a key
about
battle,
where the
and
hits
I
are.
would only venture one if I were Zach. You're playing this to put him in the mission hole by forcing him to lose them. I wouldn't try to. There's no point in venturing the extra mission. And what in this case with Harness the Wind, the speed actually does work against Kefir in this case because it will force him to empty his cards faster, which will allow you to open characters up for a KO potentially. But he does have Fairy Protection, which will help a lot. So. And I do see a Grim Reaper in Kefir's hand as well, so well, Zach can defend that.
So Kefir's definitely going 3 based on the strength of each individual card, and the fact that Grim Reaper doesn't care.
Yeah, and it's not like Zach's got individual defense for it. It's just he either has the cards or doesn't. Doesn't matter who he targets.
Well, he could have the. Don't forget, he could have Cloud Surfing. And so again, it doesn't matter where the attack goes. But he does have Zach's got a few more options.
The strength power cards plays too.
He's got he's got the strength power card place. Exactly what I was about to say. So.
All right, 4 multi to Wukong. Now, if Zach can't defend the Grim Reaper, I would probably try to just defend this and wait to see what the follow-up is, just in case it is something like the Reaper. That way you don't spend your Harness the Wind and have to lose the battle anyway. But he is shifting it.
All right, well, he's going to get it out. I think I would have just allowed this to hit. You know you're waiting for Harness the Elements. If you look at the board, my calculation here would have been he's got 2 intellect hits, 2 combat hits. I would have said to myself, the Mummy's going to take all the intellect in combat. He can't die unless he's dead is dead. I'd put every other icon on Wicked Witch. And Sun Wukong, I'm just going to leave there. But maybe his thought is to really try to stack one type and brute force onto Sun Wukong and set up for a big
yeah, that could be the case. I think both are viable. I agree with you, though. I think the Mummy needs to take the 2 biggest, the icons that have the highest numbers, and I think that's going to be intellect, combat, and any power.
Yeah, I mean, Mummy right now is representing on the board the ability to take 28 damage and not die. Now, that would involve taking the 6 also. All right, so he's going to do the Grim Reaper as the follow-up.
Yep.
It looks like Zach's sort of saying, okay.
I think you're right. I think you called combat, so that's I think that could be the game right now. I don't think Zach's going to have enough cards to be able to compete with that. Okay. If he's able to fetch something like another card that will let him draw other cards, then he might be in okay shape. Like if he draws an alien symbiote with the Asclepion or something, and then gets another Wukong 6 or a Hades even. But I mean, Phil does have the negate placed anyway, so even a Hades wouldn't help here.
Now, there's a lot of debate in the community about currently the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper is a card effect that we've carried over from the Legacy game. It's arguably, I think without a doubt, the most powerful card that we carried over from Legacy that we didn't change or ban. You know, we've managed to only ban one card in Overpower history. That's the Devourer of Worlds. A card that doesn't even apply to the modern environment because there's no battle sites. So in the modern environment, we've specifically not included cards that prevent concession, which I think would be overly powerful in this format. Eventually we may do that, but with less prevalence of full negators, it's a really brutal game-winning ability sometimes. So if that ever comes out, it's probably going to be on a character that's quite expensive. But the Grim Reaper in this case definitely is swinging this game
I
pretty
mean, Zach's
hard.
deck should have plenty of defense for it. I think this is just one of those variance things where he just didn't draw any. I mean, he's got 3 mummy negates potentially. He's got, a Wukong of Void. Yeah, like there's lots in there, and then all his own anti-heroes. So.
But the argument is when it hits, it's such a swing, and I do agree with that, but there's so many more ways that are going to deal with it in the new set, and there's going to be new suites of any heroes that give a different offering. The upcoming suite of any character cards in the Skybound set are going to offer you some more defense and some more lockout options. So Keffer's taking the time to read One Eye. It's just a 7.
It's got a lot of text on it, but basically it's just a 7.
Although in a key battle like this with Harness the Wind out, the ability to throw it against Doc Watson could be a battle winner,
Even preventing Watson from coming up or something and then not having the avenue to shift to him or something like that could work too, but it's very specific.
I have noticed some players, too, have started to incorporate a little more of a load the reserve character up strategy. We used to see a lot of that from Josh Alexander, a very good player.
I actually really like the combo of playing a couple extra reserve cards and then running the event that allows you to move the reserve up. I like the tactic with running Korak in the back and then trying to get his card out that forces you to attack him, and then he goes back into reserve where your team is essentially protected. And now this is going to be rough if this hits as well, and it does. I mean, this is pretty much a Murphy's Law battle, I think, for Zach. This could be the momentum for the game as well, because he's going to be going down cards.
Now, he saw that placed, so let me ask you, was there anything that Gemini could have got out that would have defended it?
I don't think so.
And again, also, just to point out, losing the Gemini, the battle where you use Harness the Wind is also rough, because re-getting Harness the Wind with the Gemini is a key strategy.
Yeah, I mean, he would have had it again this hand if he hadn't fetched it, right? Because it would have been top 5. Okay, so Zach makes up at least 1 card, but I think this is going to be a steep climb. He does have the ability to get the other card off the Mummy now. The Mummy's 5 is now in play thanks to taking that hit. So that does help a little bit. So that with the dupe brings him within 2 if the 5 does land. But I still think he's still, I think, 3 cards down after that.
Yeah, the fact that he didn't have the cards in hand to get rid of for the Grim Reaper, that's really what it's about. Keffer's an expert player, and he's never going to play any of his placed cards if he doesn't have to. I mean, we've seen both of those 8s in a teamwork on the board since hand
once you start playing the game, it's fairly obvious why when you look at how difficult just playing against the draw 3 each hand would be. Well, it's like Keffer has 2 of them against Zach at this point.
And it also seems like Zach's just not drawing things that he can optimally place. He just said he's not placing. Keffer's going to go for the win. Zach's going to respond with the 2. And the worst part about this situation is if he manages to exhaust all his resources and beat Keffer this hand, Keffer can still Hades and go for the win again next battle. So Zach's really going to find himself in an unfortunate uphill battle for these 2 hands. But we've seen how strong the Sun Wukong Wicked
Witch it is the potential for it to generate cards. I just don't know if Zach's got enough hits on his characters to really optimize that. And yeah, that's another. If that card lands, that's pretty brutal as well, because that can't be shifted.
Especially because it could be the strength power card that Zach's relying on to use a negate, which would be a reason here to just negate this if he does have the negate. So it's almost like when you do the discard a placed card for a negate. This could be a 2-card swing here. So what he's playing is friend to foe. It's supposed to represent that Count of Monte Cristo's, got somebody else that can betray somebody. So he's going to take that power card that's placed to the mummy and then use it to attack a different character. It's the new steal mechanic that we've coined. So he's going to steal it, and then Count of Monte Cristo is going to use it to attack the Wicked Witch.
Oh, what?
He took the 3 and then tried to defensively negate the 4 multi.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And Kefir's gonna negate the 4 multi, and then the Wicked Witch is gonna go down with the beginning.
Now that's not necessarily the worst thing. I mean, he's already seen Harness the Wind. He's seen a discard. He's seen the 7. I think only the 8 multis left. It would be unfortunate if it's in his hand at this point, but.
The Escaplan could end up being big here, but Kefir he's willing to use that negate on the first one because he does have the Merlin in his hand. I think what you're probably going to see is the 5 off the mummy is going to have to come out here. He's going to have to try to do that just to get the card draw. Now, this has an energy icon. The mummy's inherent. He must have an energy icon to be KO'd. He's not going to want to get hit with that. Now, one good thing Zach can snake through here is he does have the Mummy 7 in his hand, Pharaoh of the 4th Dynasty. So he's got 2 chances to try to heal that 6. So he may throw this 5 over at Sherlock Holmes. Hopefully Sherlock, with the 5 and the 8 placed, is going to have to use a special card to defend it. And that might open up the avenue for the 7. Oh, but no. Instead, he's got back-to-back multi-power power cards. They both count as whatever icon he wants. And unfortunately, Zach has a 1-2 round. And I just don't think Sun Wukong, as much as I love the Monkey King, I don't think he's going to have what it takes to overcome 2 8s.
I think he does have the heal in his hand, too, which is hilarious. So, I mean, that I think he actually did have the cards in his hand to actually even things up. He just didn't have any traditional defense. I think he really needed the Harness to win this hand, and then I think he would have been in good shape. Because with the he did have the negate.
Well, but that just shows you 1 card to a hand too late. If his first hand, well, at the same time though, Kefir's a good enough player with 2 negates. He's not letting him get to Harness the Wind. He would have negated the Gemini if he had it this hand. Instead, with 2 negates, he knows enough to know. A lot of times people will let the Gemini through thinking, well, whatever special they get, I can just negate it. But that doesn't work on defensive specials. A lot of times the Gemini is the move is to negate that. I'm also surprised he's switching up to Count of Monte Cristo here instead of just sinking Venture and getting the KO pressure on Sherlock, or trying to make Leonidas use it.
Yeah, I don't know if he's trying to shut out the teamwork or thinks it's just less defense that way, but this is the issue too, is I don't even know if he can get the heal off because I think he's just going to get rushed down.
All right. Kefir declares that the 4 is coming from Monte Cristo, it looks like. Zach says, I'm going to take... he's rethinking it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's one you want to take based on what's coming. I mean, I don't think it really matters, honestly.
I think you're just going to see the... Kefir's probably got something to follow it up from hand. I don't think Kefir will uncomplete a place teamwork.
Yeah, especially in flight. You never know. At this point, I don't think he really wants to kill Wukong because I think he wants to maximize. Well, I guess he would because then that ends the battle. Yeah,
if he kills Wukong, it's just over. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That he has to take.
Jacopo. It's now at this point, it's just brute force. No big deal. He's gonna place the 5. Doesn't even bother to put it face down. That's gonna take this. We'll probably see a grasp of the 5 elements here, and the Merlin is going to negate it. Or is it? Now, this is another good point here. If I'm Kefir, do I care if he scrubs 9 Venture? You're up. What's he got? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 to 11. And his negate can get rid of 7 of that Venture. I think I agree with Kefir. I just let him heal. I've got what I need, and he's obviously got the completed teamwork in his hand. So all right, so he's just gonna immediately put that Venture right back on. There's nothing he can do. He's just got the 8 left, and that's gonna be the handshake. Rough game for Zach. I think again, we've seen Kefir's deck ran very smoothly. Zach's got some variants and some cards drawn at the wrong time. And Kefir just puts that one away. So that's going to send Phil Kefir to the finals of this event. And if I remember right, he's going to be playing Thomas Keane.
No, it's Thomas Keane. And
Keenan?
What's interesting is I remember talking to Thomas while I was TOing this event, and he was saying how he didn't think he was going to make the playoffs at all in the first, because he lost his first 2 games. But then he just kept winning after that. So I talked to him on like game 3, and that's when he said, "Oh, I don't think I'm out anyway." So he was making some comment about some aspect of the tournament. So it's just.
And he'll be in the finals against Phil Kefir. That's fantastic. I think if I remember that day, he actually put kind of a grumbly Facebook post up about having a bad start and then made it to the finals. So awesome. So let's jump over to round 7 and let's see who's going to be the 3rd regional champion at this Canadian event.